Welcome to Entrepreneurial Entrails for some short stories on the guts and glories of being an entrepreneur. Hey, welcome to Entrepreneurial Entrails. Today is Wise Word Wednesdays. My name is Elizabeth Plouffe and I have a reading addiction. There's no group for that, unfortunately, other than Goodreads in your local library, but I have an addiction to reading, and in particular right now anyway, business books, because I'm an entrepreneur and I'm trying to do things the right way and learn as much as possible. So I decided to create Wise Word Wednesdays because I'm sure I'm not the only entrepreneur out there, and some of you might like to read, some of you might not. Some of you might be like me and you don't like to waste your time with shitty books. So I've decided to try and review a ton of books to let you know which ones are worth having a look at and which ones you can learn from, that kind of stuff. So some of you may have heard of, this guy. He's a bit of a loudmouth, can be a bit salty, very in your face, cusses a lot. He's also, a multimillionaire and has built, one or two successful businesses. And so his name is Gary Vaynerchuk, and I ran into him, actually, not physically, but ran into him a couple of years ago. And was honestly a bit put off because he was so salty and so in your face, and which is a shame on my part because I could have got past that. And recently, and I can't even remember what turned me back on to him, but about 6 months ago, I started watching his stuff on YouTube. And he has a thing called Ask Gary V, which I think is awesome. And people can send in questions and video questions or tweets or what have you. And he answers them. So why is that significant? Why should we care if Gary Vaynerchuk has something to say about, social media and business development? Well, I went on his website, and I'm going to read you a bit of his biography, just so you know why he's a bit of a big deal to pay attention to. Gary Vaynerchuk builds businesses. Fresh out of college, he took his family wine business and grew it from a $3 million business to a $60 million business in just 5 years. Now he runs VaynerMedia, one of the world's hottest digital agencies. Along the way, he became a prolific angel investor and venture capitalist, investing in companies like Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Uber, and Birchbox, before eventually co-founding Vayner a $25 million investment fund. Gary also currently hosts the Ask Gary V show, a way of providing as much value as possible by taking questions about social media, entrepreneurship, startups, and family businesses, and giving his answers based on a lifetime of building successful multi-million-dollar companies. The show is also available as a podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud, where my podcasts are too, so that's kind of cool. Gary is also a prolific public speaker, delivering keynotes at events like Le Web and South by Southwest, which you can watch on his YouTube channel. He was named both Fortune and Crain's 40 Under 40 lists in consecutive years and has been profiled in New York Times, Fortune, and Inc. So I'll give you just a little bit because Gary Vaynerchuk is not only an entrepreneur, but he's also an immigrant, which I think is really cool. And he had his dad on one of his YouTube, I'm not sure if it was an Ask Gary V session or what have you. And the love he has for his family is fantastic. And one of the things I've grown to really like about him is his desire to give back and help others be successful as long as they're willing to work for it. He has no tolerance for bullshit. And, if you're not willing to grind and do the work, then, he's willing to let you fall on your face, which I think is a fair exchange. So it says here, Gary Vaynerchuk was born in Babruysk, Belarus, in the former USSR. His parents were fortunate enough to find their way to America as part of an exchange program where Soviet Jews were allowed to immigrate to the U.S. in exchange for food aid. While the entire extended family shared a studio apartment in Queens, Gary's father, Sasha, began working at a relative's liquor store in New Jersey and eventually moved the family to Edison, New Jersey. So, his entrepreneurship... Gary Vaynerchuk's entrepreneurship bent started at an early age, and he credits his dad with instilling that kind of work ethic in him, which if you're an entrepreneur, you will not succeed without a serious work ethic. It just doesn't work that way. You have to be willing to slog through and grind and get her done. So for today's Wise Word Wednesdays, the book that I have chosen to profile is Jab, 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 Right Hook, which was written a few years ago, so I'm a little slow to the party. But after listening to his show and watching his videos and his keynotes and all that kind of stuff, I thought, I need to find this book. So I got it. And as happenstance would have it, I was just at Value Village this week, and found 3 books, one of which is Gary Vaynerchuk's Crush It. So that'll be coming up on a future podcast. My next one is going to be Sean Acor's The Happiness Project. So I'm just going to read to you some bits and pieces out of this book. And this book is particularly about social media. So it's Jab, 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 Right Hook, How to Tell Your Story in a Noisy Social World. And he covers, what does he cover? Covers all kinds of stuff, which I had, of course, all marked up, and lost that page. So hang on one sec. So covers Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, Tumblr, and a few other ideas in between, but starts out by talking about the setup. And so I'll read you a little bit from, it's called Round 1, because he uses boxing metaphors throughout to make the story. So where's your phone? In your back pocket, on the table in front of you, in your hands because you're using it to read this book? It's probably somewhere within easy reach, unless you're one of those people who are constantly misplacing their phones. And my question has you rummaging through the laundry basket again or checking under your car seat. If you're in a public space, look around. I mean it. Pop your head up. What do you see? Phones. Some people are doing the old-fashioned thing and using them to actually talk to another person. But I predict that someone, and probably several someones, within a 4-foot radius is playing dots, or double-tapping a picture, or composing a status update, or sharing a picture, or tweeting. In fact, unless you're visiting Aunt Sally in the nursing home, and even then you'd be surprised at how iPads are crashing the 90-year-old demo lately, it's more than likely that almost everyone around you has a smartphone in his or her possession. And if not a phone, then a tablet. I know this because there are nearly 325 million mobile subscriptions in the United States alone. And why he uses that as a setup is to talk about the platforms that are highlighted in this book and how to maximize them for the mobile community. Because if you are sticking with, just a website and just paper and, some relatively outdated modes of promotion, then you're missing an entire huge global audience that is living their life through their phone. He goes on then, a lot of ums today. He talks about something which I didn't really understand, and I'm still working towards understanding, but native and non-native content. And the key difference from what I can gather here is that native content is advertising, but without being in your face. So it's not a hardcore message where it's an obvious ad that somebody has placed there. He really encourages you to use the opportunity within marketing and advertising to tell a story and bring people in and encourage them to become involved with your brand because of what story that it tells, versus just slamming people with ads all the time. And that's the whole point between the title, Jab, 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 Right Hook, which is what I do. It's share content, share things of value, share things that people can start to build a relationship with you and build trust with you, and then slip a marketing message in, preferably in the native format versus the non-native format, though I think occasionally throwing in a full-on, take a look at what I've done is necessary. If your entire marketing and communications campaign is based on that and you're not getting anywhere, well, my friend, you've committed like a major sin. You're not taking the time to build the relationship. You're not taking time to build the trust. And why should anybody bother to look at your ad or be excited when they don't know you and you haven't taken the time to create anything of value for them? And so I'll jump over here to round 3, which is storytelling on Facebook, and some really interesting facts here. So if you've been holding out for your business in getting on Facebook and using it as a marketing platform to share your story and hopefully mostly native content, then you're really missing out. And what he says here, here we go. Apparently the like button was originally supposed to be called the awesome button, which, okay. Mark Zuckerberg initially rejected photo sharing. He had to be persuaded that it was a good idea by then President Sean Parker. There were more than a billion monthly active users as of December 2012. There were 680 million monthly active users of Facebook mobile products as of December 2012. 1 out of every 5 page views in the United States is on Facebook. Let me say that again, says Gary Vaynerchuk. 1 out of every 5 page views in the United States is on Facebook. So if you've been hesitating to use Facebook for your business, get your thumb out of your butt and get on there and, figure it out. Product, service, doesn't matter. I mean, obviously, if your audience isn't there, don't waste the time. But I can guarantee you, with that many millions and billions of people using Facebook, your audience is on there somewhere. You just need to find them. And it goes on here, listening well on Twitter and being involved in the conversation and using hashtags appropriately and really watching your messaging. One of the things I really like about the book, because it's the way I learn best, is at the end of each chapter, he gives the yeses and nos. So he's gone through, or somebody's gone through and pulled content for him to say, yes, this is why this worked, and no, this is why this dropped the ball, which I think for most business owners is really important to know. And I had a few eye-opening moments, so it's definitely worth having a look. So round 11 is the conclusion. And what he says here is, it takes a ton of effort to figure out how to use any social media platform to its full potential. And today we've got 7 major ones to contend with. I hope that if I wrote a short, useful book, one as visually enticing as Tumblr or Pinterest post, that broke today's most popular and exciting platforms down to their essential building blocks, this is a long sentence, of text, image, tone, and link capabilities, it would make the exploding social media scene seem a little less daunting to any marketer or business owner trying to keep up with it. I promise the investment you make in familiarizing yourself with the ins and outs of these platforms will pay off now and in the future. And he goes on to talk about how quickly things are changing. And one of the main things that I got out of it was the return on investment. It's definitely worthwhile to do it smart. And if you don't know what you're doing and you're mucking around on social media, do yourself a favor, find somebody that you trust and want to work with, and get them to teach you the right way to do it. There are billions and millions and billions of people out there that you could be connecting with and creating relationships with and building your business with. And if you're not willing to invest the time and energy into creating that relationship, they're not going to give you their business. And that's what you're on social media for. So take a look at this Jab, 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 Right Hook. I really liked it. It was worth the money that I paid for it. It's $40 Canadian, I think, something like that. $36.99 Canadian. I'm sure you can get it online, Amazon. I happen to walk into the store. I'm a bit of a tactile book buyer. I like to be there when I buy it. I really liked it. I'm looking forward to reading Crush It. This one is written in a very conversational tone. It's very easy to understand. It's very easy to integrate into your thinking. So take a look. Take a look, and you can visit. He's got 2 different websites. He has the one for VaynerMedia, and then there is the GaryVaynerchuk.com that you can go and look at. 2 different things. Check him out on YouTube. If you're an audio processor and you need to learn that way, then he gives a lot of this advice through his Ask Gary V, which has been really beneficial for me. So that's it for today. I'll leave you with the standard, just know you have the guts and glory to make your own story. Hopefully with Wise Word Wednesdays, you're getting some resources to make that story happen for you online. I hope you're having a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Like I said, next time.